Hi friends, welcome to CodeNet, and today we want to give an introduction to the course which is entitled HTML. We might start asking ourselves, hey, what do the acronyms HTML mean and what do they actually stand for? The acronyms HTML actually stand for Hypertext Markup Language. Hypertext Markup Language. Many people define HTML as simply a skeleton for building web pages. A skeleton for building websites. We might have websites like google.com, yahoo.com, facebook.com, twitter.com. They all need to have the actual skeleton, which is called HTML. And professionally, HTML is simply defined as the actual structure that can be implemented for we to build the structure for the web page or for the websites that we need to create. HTML has different elements. Elements of HTML are simply the actual things that needs to hold data which needs to be worked on or to be displayed by a web page. Don't worry if you don't understand what they are. We will see what elements are in the next sessions of HTML. Different elements of HTML are simply HTML itself, the head as an element, the title, which of course specifies the actual title for the web page. I'm sure you've maybe at one time seen on the URL of each and every web page. And there are of course titles like home page, index page, and anything related to that. It is specified by the title, which is an element of HTML. Other elements of HTML are the body element, the heading, which is denoted by, of course, data H to 6, of which we call H1 to H6 as headings of HTML, and a paragraph, which is denoted by a P as simply an element of HTML. As we progress, we will even understand how we can declare a web page to be a web page of HTML. As we will progress in our session. What will we discuss now in the entire course of HTML as programming language, we could say? Well, the course content of this course is actually interesting because right now we are having our introduction, and in the next session we'll of course install the necessary software, of course an IDE, which we will be using in our entire course of HTML for we to do the illustrations on how the coding and programming is actually implemented in HTML. And in the third session, we'll understand the basics that we need to understand before we start the actual implementation of programming in HTML. And after that, we'll understand what attributes are. We'll see what an attribute is and how we can work with different attributes in HTML. From there, we'll progress to understand what an element is now in HTML. We'll understand what is a heading, what is a title, what is a body, what is an HTML element itself. And after that, we'll of course see how we can implement the headings in HTML, the paragraphs in HTML, for we to be displaying the content on the web pages as need might be by the other people who wish to see how we are working on our web-based application or on our website or on our e-commerce based website. From there, we'll also see how formatting and quotations can be implemented. And after that, we'll understand how we can implement a comment in HTML. Of course, definitely in each and every programming language, we have comments. How can we implement a comment now in HTML as a scripting programming language? And after that, we'll also see how a link can be implemented. For example, maybe you've been on a certain website, and of course even on YouTube down the description there are links. Now how can you also implement such links on your website where someone clicks on something and then he or she is navigated to a different web page or to a different website? We'll see how such can be implemented. Then from there we'll see how we can work with images in HTML. You upload images on your websites. Is it on your social media? Different social medias including Facebook, Twitter and any other. Now how can you also implement such features where you now embed images inside a website? After that, we'll see how tables can be analyzed and how we can implement tables inside HTML as a scripting language. From there, we'll see how we can implement the two different types of lists, which is an ordered list and a ordered list here as we progress in our course. From there, we'll see how blocks can be implemented in HTML, and after that, we'll see how classes of course can be implemented, and we will have an interesting of next topic which will be based on IDEs, and so we'll see what is the difference between classes and IDEs when it comes to HTML as a programming language. We could say, though not a higher level programming language. We'll see again after that how a head as of course an element in HTML can be implemented, and of course how responsiveness can be implemented in web pages. For example, maybe you've opened a website on your machine. Is it your computer? Is it your laptop? Is it your desktop? But when you open on your mobile device, I mean, boom, they just look distorted, not responsive enough. How can we work with that and make different websites, the websites that you are creating, responsive when it comes to HTML? After that, we of course now understand what entities are and how they can be implemented. Forms in HTML. How can you get content from the end user? We can of course, if we are chatting with someone, is it using any social media and anything related to that, I can type something and send as a message. How can you implement such? You get content from someone, another content, then you also reply. Forms in HTML, we understand how we can do and work with that. You of course using two sessions, and then from there we understand how media, is it audio, is it video or anything, how can we work with that in HTML? We'll progress and understand. And lastly, we'll have an introduction to CSS, JavaScript and PHP as we end the entire course of HTML, because HTML works well if we understand and link it of course to CSS, JavaScript or PHP, which is of course a hypertext preprocessor. And so understand this as we progress in our sessions of HTML. Please don't forget to subscribe and of course share, comment for we to reply to your comments as fast as possible before we implement the next session. Please let's progress on our next session as we install the necessary softwares that are needful and needed for we to work with HTML. Please don't forget to subscribe, and you are on CodeNet.